This video is about what happens when you make a direct approach to local government in Britain. I'm here raising issues about a cycle path that a county plans to build near to where I live. Very few people in Britain are aware of what happens in local government. We all watch the national news and we know who runs Britain, but hardly anyone would know who runs the county council. With the rise of the internet and the fall of local newspapers, we never hear about important votes or decisions made by the county council that sometimes affect our lives in a much more direct way than national government might. Here we see the county council's committee for the economy, transport and environment. These people are responsible for decisions that affect the lives of between 1 and 2 million people. I notice that apart from one woman, they're all mature men. I'm here by chance and fortune. One of these councillors is pro-cycling and he emailed the cycling groups that he happened to have the email addresses for. Although he contacted them as soon as he knew the committee was going to discuss cycling, we only had 24 hours to say we would make a deputation, and there was only 5 days to write something before the meeting took place. An official announcement had been made on the council's website, but in a place I think no one would ever check. So, welcome to the world of politics. The Shelbyville cycling group were concerned about the lack of time to prepare anything, so when I volunteered to speak about the Danger Road cycle path, they quickly accepted. 4 cycling groups sent deputies. As us deputies waited outside the meeting room to go in, the councillors filed in. They welcomed us and they shook our hands, and then we went in. Despite the kindness from the councillors, the meeting is very formal and I found the atmosphere quite oppressive. Everyone, even the councillors, have a very limited amount of time to speak. Certainly the whole process is very efficient. The other deputies spoke and then it was my turn. Officially, each of us was allowed to speak for 10 minutes, but we were asked to only speak for 5 minutes to try and stop things dragging on too long.
So, please go ahead.
So, here we go. 4 years of work summed up in 4 minutes. Rather than raise specific issues, I tried to stick to the big picture. Building more roads leads to more congestion.
Reduce demand. So if you make it easy to drive, lots of people drive. If you make walking and cycling easier, more people will walk and cycle, which is why the county is building cycling infrastructure to encourage more people to cycle. So my first suggestion is the county should prioritise walking and cycling over driving, and this should be carried out right at the very beginning. So if you get £3 million from your housing estate, then that walking and cycling should be the first thing people do.
If you think that prioritising walking and cycling before driving sounds like some sort of communist plot, it's actually the British government's policy. They want to make walking and cycling the natural choice for short journeys, and they want us to do it by following the example of the Netherlands. To put the policy into practice, right from the very beginning, they need to prioritise walking and cycling and not just add it on as an afterthought. Other countries have done it.
In the Netherlands and in Denmark, all they did was take 1% of the road space away from drivers each year and give it to people who are walking and cycling. And after 40 years, everyone has just gradually changed the way they travel.
Now for the Danger Road cycle path. Again, using it as evidence of a bigger problem. The county's bad practices are putting people's lives at risk.
Right, there are also problems when cycle infrastructure is implemented. The county has no cycle infrastructure standards, and I have asked, and I was pointed towards the website, but I couldn't find anything useful there. The county has no cycle infrastructure standards, and it does not follow recommendations from the Department of Transport or other organisations. Even safety-related advice is ignored. For example, cycle path is on a 60-mile-an-hour road. The Department of Transport recommends, where possible, a safety buffer of 1.5 metres between the path and the road. And Highways England say the safety buffer should be 2.5 metres wide. From the plans that I've seen, which was a little while ago, the safety buffer will only be 50 centimetres wide. The county is not legally obliged to follow the guidance, but I think the planners have a duty of care to make sure the path is safe for people using it. To be able to reduce the safety buffer by so much, a planner would need to have a good understanding of cycling to be sure the resulting path was safe. From previous contact with the planners, I believe a planner working on cycle infrastructure doesn't need to understand the needs of someone cycling and doesn't need to regularly cycle themselves.
I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I was really feeling the pressure The Shelbyville person who came with me said they could see me trembling as I spoke. As soon as it was all done, I scarpered, glad it was all over.
Thank you very much indeed.
Now it was the turn for the council to have their say. First of all, the representative explained the county's cycling strategy and the factors that affected how much progress they can make.
Effectively the head of transport strategy. So my role is to develop transport strategies and then see them through to delivery, development and design. We're developing the movement strategy, which will look very closely at walking and how we can, and cycling, and how we can improve those going forward. In terms of attracting new investment, there have been a number of examples cited in the report where we have managed to secure investment. Normally it is related to the government's priorities. We are largely reactive. We don't have huge pots of funding of our own to put into cycling. There isn't a huge pot of local transport plan funding. It doesn't go very far. Speaking, we're pretty much dealing with road safety following on from that. So that's at our top of our list.
I said they don't follow the guidelines.
In terms of the set of standards, we believe that we use the TfL design, the Cardiff design, we use the best standards that are around the DFT standards.
So I didn't make much progress there, but then he goes on to mention the Danger Road cycle path's economic benefit.
Which I think is actually a very good commuter route.
It certainly is a good commuter route. I was the one who did their travel survey for them. I try to ask a question and get told off. It's such a restrictive environment. What do you think about the basic principle of...
Sorry. We can't have questions to manage this day.
Then it's the turn of the councillors. Many of those who speak are supportive. The comments show they had listened. I mentioned the Netherlands and Denmark.
And as is one of the deputies said this morning, that in other European countries they clearly have looked at strategies to actually deal with this stuff. This isn't being done locally, I would suspect. This is...
I asked for priorities to be changed.
Clearly, I think if there's a need to be a sea change in, or a rebalance in effect between the use of cars and other transport in that nature and walking and cycling.
One common remark is the support for a separate cycling working group.
Should we be looking at a working party look into cycling?
Mr. Chairman, I think that would be a very good idea. I think a cross-party working group would be an excellent idea.
I'd like to speak in favour of suggestion in bringing forward a working party on this subject.
I mentioned that cycling is not treated seriously enough.
And I agree with some of the petitioners that it's almost as if cycling is put on the back burner and is not taken seriously.
One councillor has been trying to get cycle paths built in his own area.
I've been trying my hardest to get 2 cycleways in locally, and it's taken years.
But then one of the councillors says something very interesting about the Danger Road cycle path.
And about the safety strip of land in between the road and the cycleway. And I would be aghast, as that is in my as this particular cycleway is in my division, that it was 50 centimetres. I do hope that the petitioner has got it wrong and we have a more sensible division between traffic on a fast road. Even though I suspect the speed limit will be put down, it will still be a fast road. So I'd like to ask please for an update on that.
Bingo, some concrete support for making the Danger Road cycle path safe. Then the county responds to the request.
I will check the designs out and we will look at them. If necessary, I'll get them independently audited to check whether they're the right standard, etc. I haven't actually seen them myself, so I need to check them.
So, a great result. They've committed to reviewing the design.
There's obviously a lot of interest and passion and commitment within the community about this, and as councillors we all are very interested in this issue.
Now the most senior councillor gets to speak. He's a member of the county's executive. He's someone involved in the day-to-day running of the council, someone with real power. The chairman reminds him of the cycle working group idea.
Would you like to respond, and particularly would you welcome the idea of a working party or perhaps a special meeting of this committee to look at this issue alone, and be interested in your thoughts and reflections on the debate we've had today?
Then he gives some hope that the working group might be set up.
I think, yes, potentially the idea of a group to consider this would be a good idea. I think we must also remember that we already have a road safety group that does have cycling including into that. Now, whether we need to separate that out or form a separate group, I'm open to that, and I think we've had a good debate about that today.
But then he seems to dash the hopes of all the deputies and the councillors at a stroke.
But I would like to understand a bit more about the road safety group and how that works with cycling and how we can add to that so we don't duplicate or the potential for having a separate form, Mr. Chairman.
So, welcome to the world of politics. Welcome to the world of politics indeed. That meeting went about as well as I think I could have hoped it to. The councillors seemed to be listening. Many of them were supportive of cycling. I got to say out loud my concerns about the Danger Road cycle path, and the county have committed to looking at the design. It's absolutely brilliant. There's one more twist of fortune to come. Some months before, I'd written to my Member of Parliament about climate change, and at the end I happened to say, by the way, the county is not very good at designing infrastructure for people who like to walk and cycle. You know, they're much better at doing things for motor vehicles. The MP wrote to the county council. The council invited me to a meeting at which we discussed the Danger Road cycle path. I'm planning to make one more video about the path at the moment, about the meeting. It's not going to be a good ending or a bad ending, but we are going to have to be stoical. Halt before every good which chance brings to you, in a spirit of doubt and fear, for it is the dumb animals that are deceived by tempting hopes. Do you call these things the gifts of fortune? They are snares which any person among you who wishes to live a life of safety will avoid to the utmost of their power. We are deceived by these hopes, for we think that we hold them in our grasp, but they hold us in theirs. Such a career leads us into precipitous ways, and life on such heights ends in a fall.